Joining us now, Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie, wow. Not a day for any sort of niceties between you and I, because we got to get right to it. So much there. Let's first go with what Ray said and the open border, which we're not addressing because we're paying so much damn attention to Ukraine and Israel. He literally just told us, like I've been saying, it's not a matter of if we're going to have another attack, it's when, thanks to Joe Biden's open border.
That's right, Dan, and that comes from the very man that hid the FD 1023 form that outlined a bribe given to Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, but yet he's cautioning Americans to be prepared for a terrorist attack. So this is more failure from the Biden administration, who I want to remind everyone has ripped our border wide open since the day Joe Biden took office in the White House. We have over 10 million people have entered our land, over 1.5 million gotaways. We have an FBI director that ignores the crimes. We have an Attorney General, Merrick Garland, that ignores the president crimes. We are in perilous times and our national security is at risk like never before, Dan. It is unbelievable. And what we saw happen in Israel could happen at any time, at any day here in America. And the feckless director of the FBI right there is going ahead and admitting that in a Senate hearing.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I mean, forget the Biden crime family corruption that should have kicked Joe Biden out of office ages ago. Let's just look at the border. I've said this time and time again. Your number one job as the president of the United States is to what? Keep the American people safe. If you allowed an open border to bring in fentanyl, sex trafficking, the guns, the crime, the death of Americans, then isn't that a treasonous act? Didn't you just betray the oath to protect us from foreign and domestic? And that's what he's done with this open border.
I believe it's a treasonous act. I believe they're all guilty of treason, from the President of the United States to the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, and the deputy attorneys that work under him. I believe the FBI Director, Christopher Wray. And, you know, Secretary Mayorkas is extremely guilty of treason.
Yes.
All of them are guilty of treason because they do not serve to uphold our Constitution and protect America. They serve the rest of the world, and they serve the Democrat Party and their politics first, so they can keep holding on to power. And that's the most dangerous thing that we have happening today in America.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, let's talk money, because it's the economy, stupid, right? That's what we've heard that for decades now. When there's a presidential election coming around, people, I hate to say it, could care less about foreign policy. They might even not care about the border, which they should. At the end of the day, Americans care about their pocketbook and be able to put food on the table for their family. And right now, Bidenomics is screwing things up, because all we do is keep printing money and spending it overseas instead of here on the homeland. So let's talk about these billions more that they want to send now to Ukraine, unchecked, and then billions to Israel, while nothing goes to the border. Now, we heard the new speaker say he was going to independently try to separate these three things, but you're hearing something else behind closed doors. What's happening with the funding of the aid package for Israel, more aid to Ukraine, and any money going to go to our southern border?
Yeah, thank you for asking about that. You know, I was just in New Hampshire in the past couple of days, and the people there are so ready for President Trump to be back in the White House because his policies work. They kept America safe. We didn't have a disaster of an economy like we are with Bidenflation. But now we're looking at Congress funding not one foreign war in Ukraine, but now two foreign wars. Now, we stand with Israel. They are our friends, and they are our best and closest ally. And may God help them in this difficult time, as they have been attacked horrifically by the terrorist Hamas. But here's what's happening, Dan. We are looking at voting on a package, an aid package for Israel this week. It's going to be $14.3 billion. Our new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, wants to take that money out of a spending package that was passed for the IRS earlier this year. But here's the catch. This money is not, they say it's paid for, but it's really not. We're over $33 trillion in debt. And while we would love to dismantle the IRS, this is still money that's going to be spent out of the American people's hard-earned tax dollars. $10 billion of the $14 billion is going to go to the Department of Defense for procurement of weapons to be given to Israel. And then the remaining $4 billion is allotted out in different ways. But let's remind everyone, Our House, the House of Representatives, has already passed the defense bill and the state and foreign ops appropriation bills. Those bills contain $3.8 billion that are already sitting there ready to go for Israel. But the Democrats in the Senate, Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden, refuse to pass those bills and sign them into laws, and refuse to give that money and much needed aid to Israel already. So my argument is this: with our situation in America, our national security crisis ahead of us, and we are being warned by the FBI director that we are very close to having a terrorist attack on our land, not maybe in one places, but all over the country. We cannot afford, at $33 trillion in debt, to write checks to more foreign countries for more foreign wars in defense of their borders when we are doing nothing for our own. So I've already told the Speaker of the House, I can't vote for that aid package. We should be pressuring the Biden administration and the Senate to take up the bills we've already passed and give Israel the $3.8 million that they need right now, instead of going ahead and sending more money and to be sent out to another country's foreign war. I can talk to you about Ukraine. It won't be this week. We're looking at next week, Dan.
Okay.
And what is being proposed for the Ukraine funding? Now, I want to remind everyone, I have voted no to every single penny. I have never funded that foreign war. I've always demanded peace for Ukraine and that war needs to end. But the new Speaker of the House is looking at pairing America's border security with Ukraine funding. And I'm absolutely opposed to that. That is America last. We have to put our border first. We need to prioritize the border of the United States of America and the American people's hard-earned tax dollars before we prioritize any other country and any other border.
Marjorie Taylor Greene has always said it since first day in office. You're an America First gal. We appreciate that. Keep the fight. Thank you so much for all the information. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
Thank you.
Take care.